Demo, Santa Cruz Bicycles Marketing Stooge. We're here at Dirt Demo getting sunburned. It's what we love to do the most. I'm going to talk about our Blur LT Carbon. Blur LT for a few years now has been our biggest selling bike. It's our sort of the staple of our line. 140mm travel VPP suspension bike. It's got a couple years ago, the Blur LT in aluminum received the first revamp of our VPP suspension, which means that we went to a grease port accessible lower pivot here where you can get into these grease ports. These are angular contact bearings running on 15mm axles, all heads that you can preload your bearing, lock the head into one side of the frame, it threads into the other. It creates an incredibly stiff, super strong link structure that a lot of other companies aren't really getting to yet. It's expensive, it's a pain in the ass, quality control's miserable, but it works really well. Upper pivot, we run a carbon fiber link, molded carbon fiber with the same collet head, 15mm axle, angular contact bearing here, angular contact bearing here, smaller axle. Carbon has been an evolution of that design. We started playing around the carbon fiber with the Blur XC carbon, and we found that the strength and stiffness characteristics we were able to get out of them for a given weight were really through the roof. So what we wanted to do with this bike was create a ride characteristic as well as save a little weight. What we ended up with is a bike that is our stiffest, strongest, most bomber bike that we have ever made. Like beyond any of our free ride bikes, our jump bikes, any of that stuff. This happy little trail bike is an absolute brick shit house. It just doesn't weigh like one. So, 140mm travel, 5.4 pound frame, seat stays and chain stays that, I swear to God, it looks like a boa constrictor swallowed an elephant or something like that. It's really beefy construction. A one-piece carbon fiber mold process. We may have talked about this in some other videos you've seen or not, where we lay everything up in one single mold. There's a bladder that runs inside of here with mandrels in it that controls the inside thickness of these tubes. It is a one-piece process. It all gets heat cured at the same time. The suspension mount tabs, the cable stops, everything is molded into that. It is a one piece. There's no messing around with it. It enables us to get a lighter, stronger, stiffer, better chassis for the weight than you would otherwise have. Anytime you have like tubes that are meeting each other or joining, it ends up getting heavier and more complex and weaker. Very, very stiff, very time-consuming to manufacture, problematic to get done right. Our profit margins on our carbon fiber bikes are probably a lot less than anyone else's profit margins on their carbon fiber bikes, but they're really, really strong and they ride really good. The ride characteristic on this thing takes it, if you compared it to our aluminum bike, it is a league difference in terms of stiffness. The geometry is the same, the suspension behavior is the same, but the chassis has this just like tight, lined up feel that makes it feel like a much stouter bike than